Hello, I'm Brandon, and welcome to Tansson TV Plus.
And Mom, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, we are very excited to be back here and discussing some more series. This one is a season and unfortunately series finale of.
We are going to talk about Not Dead Yet.
Yes, and so this series did air on the ABC television network for 2 seasons ending in 2024. And so we're speaking about, like I said, the series finale. It's a two-parter. So yeah, episode 9 and episode 10 of season 2.
Yes. And so I'll give you a little bit of synopsis just of the show itself, a one-liner for you guys who have not seen the show. The show really takes place in the newspaper environment, and there's a young lady by the name of Nell, and Nell actually is able to see dead people, and she writes obituaries about the people that she's been assigned, and so she's not only able to see them, but she can have conversations with them, and the conversations that she has helps her to write the obituaries. But then a little further than that, it involves her life and the people who work at the newspaper, along with some close friends.
Yes, and so like I said, this is the second season that the show had, and yeah, and I think that this season largely continued the premise of the first one and it dove a little bit more into Nell's personal life alongside those of her coworkers and friends, and so I'm very excited to go ahead and dive into the finale. Mom, if you'll do the honors of providing us the synopsis.
All right, like I said, very brief synopsis. We begin with Nell's birthday, and which is of the overall essence of this particular episode. It ended up being a two-parter, and at the beginning of her birthday, her roommate, whose name is Edward. I'm sorry. Her roommate announces that the paper is being sold. And so this surprises not only Nell, but Edward's girlfriend, who happens to be kind of the daughter of the owner of the newspaper. And so when the owner of the newspaper actually mentions it to the workplace, he has a gentleman by the name of Quentin who comes, and Quentin is actually meeting with everyone in order to give their thoughts about the newspaper and where they kind of see themselves working with the newspaper. And then Quentin will later on make decisions about the newspaper and who should actually work there. Um, and so that's basically how it begins. We do find out later that Quentin has a little bit too much to drink at Nell's birthday party because Nell invited him to come on over, and so in doing that, he doesn't make the best decisions. At that time period, Nell does meet with Quentin later, and she kind of tries to sell herself, meaning in regards to why she needs to be to remain on the paper. And so, and then in the midst of all of this, we have, which I guess in essence actually begins part two of the episode, is that we get a notification from one of the characters in the show that the owner of the newspaper has just been in a car accident. The problem is that as the gentleman is telling Nell this, um, Ne- the owner, and his name is Duncan, the boss. He is actually standing behind Nell, which means since Nell can see him, he must have passed away. And so Nell is now trying to figure out what to do because she is now having a conversation with this gentleman who we think has passed away, and everyone's reacting. And so everyone goes to the hospital, and including the daughter. The daughter is very concerned about her father. However, they have a kind of an odd relationship at the same time, and and so Nell and Duncan actually become kind of close in that regard, as in just in their speaking terms. And then we find out later that Duncan does end up surviving, and the future of the paper is kind of announced because the daughter does decide to buy the paper from her dad, and but the relationship strengthens between the father and daughter, and that's the episode in a nutshell.
Yes, and those were the episodes, not the end yet and not a ghost yet, like I said. But overall, I've really enjoyed this two-parter episode, and like I said, I've really enjoyed the series throughout its run. I think the series has really won me over from the very beginning with the first episode or two. But yeah, so it was definitely sad to hear that the show was canceled, but But for the episode itself, I thought it was a really strong, yeah, ending, and I thought brought a real closure to, to this part of the storyline with Mr. Rhodes, of course Duncan, coming back into town, sort of taking over the newspaper and his daughter Alexi's life. And I like that it sort of lets her take control of her own life.
Yeah, I thought they did a really nice job in creating an ending. I don't know if they knew that when as they were writing this episode, but I thought the closure part of it was very nice. It's nice to see a series that does come to a true closure. I was surprised. I think both of us were when we watched it and we saw that Duncan was the one that she was seeing per se the ghost for. And so they did a nice job of tying up all the loose ends. I thought that they had on the series.
Yeah, although I will say that, like I said, I am a bit disappointed, like I said, that the show can't continue. One of the reasons is because a large story arc of this is that Nell, of this season was that Nell wanted to have children, and so as such, she had sort of sobered up and has begun sort of getting her life back on track. She somewhat took a break from that, in episode 9, considering that she didn't think she was going to have a job. She didn't think that she'd quite be able to, uh, to afford to have children in the future. But I think I would have liked to see, her continuing on the track of getting her life back in order. And she even mentions throughout the episode that she's using a little Oprah's pie chart to sort of show how her life now has a complete pie and not just one big giant slice.
Hmm. Yeah, and what I liked also was not only did they talk about her life, but they talked about some of the other characters' lives also, and kind of what they were doing at that time period. For example, her good friend, who appeared happily married at some point, um, they gave some closure in her marriage and what's going on there. And so I like that they kind of revisited some of those storylines that have been out there for the season.
Yeah, and I would say too that something that I appreciate, adding on to what you were saying, is that we truly did get a chance to, I mean, to check in with so many of the characters that we enjoyed of the series. Like you were saying earlier, like with Nell's best friend Sam, we're able to see sort of her progression a little bit, and of course with Dennis as well. And so I'm glad that we had a chance to check in with them. Yeah, but I will say that her roommate Edward has become more comfortable with who he is, and so we can see that throughout the second part of the episode that he's largely doing like a crossword puzzle, and a lot of people are confused as to why exactly he's doing that, but it's his way of sort of calming down and helping his girlfriend Lexi to calm him down. So I like that we're able to sort of come to a better conclusion with that. But I think what really did it for me was with Cricket, who was introduced in the very first episode of the series, where she's able to reflect back on Nell's first obituary assignment with her late husband. And so Cricket is a character I had honestly really enjoyed as a part of this series. I really enjoyed them all, but I think her character is what truly won me over for the show. And so I'm glad that she was sort of the one that got to bring this all to full circle.
Yeah, and something else that I thought was interesting and it has to do with Lexi. When Lexi was first introduced, no one liked her, but at the end, you could see that they all rallied around her when they thought something happened to her father. And they were all there at the hospital. They were bringing her flowers and balloons, even though she didn't really accept a lot of it. But they were there to support her, and that was nice to see.
Yeah, and they mentioned too that that they, like you just mentioned, that they weren't there for her father per se, but they were there for her because they support her, and so I thought that was just really powerful there. Although I will say that there were a lot of fun moments within the two-parter. Of course, one with the scene with Nell's birthday party, of course, in the first part, and so seeing the little montages with that, I think was kind of fun to see, and the oh no, would we do? But I'd say for the second part, it was Alexi sort of taking over the hospital.
Yes, she was a little obsessed with the stapler, but yes, it was nice to see that.
Yeah, and so I thought that was really fun. I mean, to be able to see that for the character, and like I said, so this has definitely been a fun two-part episode, and Mom, now that the series has concluded, what were your thoughts overall about not just the two-parter, but then the season and series as a whole?
Well, I liked watching it, Brandon. I think you enjoyed it a little bit more than I did, but I did sit and I watched it every week. It is an enjoyable show to watch. I thought that it was kind of quirky, which I like, and I like that it was a nice comedy.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said, really enjoyed it and appreciate it as well. And I really enjoyed, like I said, not just Nell's character, which I did enjoy, but also, like I said, of the ensemble of the cast as well. And so I
Mm.
was a little hesitant going into season two, just because I knew that some things were changing here and there. But I'm glad that the season still allowed for each of the characters to continue being developed. And so, like I said, I'm sad that the series is over, but I'm excited to hopefully rewatch it. And let us know in the comments if there's any, yeah, if there's any show that you want us to watch, or if you'd like us to speak about the first episode of the series.
Yeah, please do let us know.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention, for this. And I think that overall that we got it. Oh, I will say that we were left with a cliffhanger though.
Oh yes, tell the audience what the cliffhanger was.
Yeah, so towards the end, after we find out that Mr. Rhodes is indeed okay, he started realizing that, well, wait a minute, I remember being sort of cramped up in something like a Prius, which is Nell's car. It's like, but I've never been in one of those. And so it comes to the question of, is Nell actually seeing these dead people? Is this something that he can remember? Since I guess his heart was out of his body for a moment, and I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll have to use our imagination for that one.
Yes, and I wanted to also mention, yeah, two more things, and that is that what was it? Oh yeah, so we never do find out, of course, why exactly Nell can see these ghosts, but she does actually mention that her grandma, I believe, saw ghosts, but at the same time, she also talked to chickens.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so that was interesting. And then the last thing is something that I liked was the overall saying at the end was that sometimes we just need a small win, and just and that we just need to be able to answer just some of the simple questions in life. And think that is a good way to end out our discussion.
Yes. Thank you all for watching us today.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time.
All right, everyone. Bye bye.